When a homeless pianist shocked everyone with epic talent, 3 a.m. performance haunts forever. The darkness of midnight wrapped itself tightly around the empty streets like a shroud. Shadows danced under flickering streetlights, and an eerie chill slid through the air, sending shivers down spines. A figure sat hunched over a battered piano in a forgotten alley, a lone oasis of sound in a world long asleep. There was something haunting about him, the way his fingers glided over the keys, as if they were possessed by an otherworldly force. The notes that poured out were unexpected, like angels weeping a melody that both gripped and soothed. People stopped, drawn to the strange music like moths to a flame. Who was this man? Rumors swirled he was a prodigy down on his luck, cursed by some unseen fate, or perhaps he was a ghost wandering the streets, sharing his sorrow through music. Whispers of his past echoed in the minds of the onlookers as they watched, enraptured by the visualization of his pain and passion intermingling with every chord. The haunting gaze in his eyes seemed to strip bare the layers of all who listened, revealing their own hidden grief. With each crescendo, the crowd thickened, stunned faces mirrored shock, fear, and a thrilling curiosity. You could almost hear the collective heartbeat quicken as the pianist delved deeper, each note sending ripples of anxiety through the crowd. A woman gasped, clutching her chest as the desperate chords resonated with her own unspoken demons. A child cried, unimpressed by their mother's fierce grip, as if sensing the weight that rested on his shoulders. What spell had this man cast? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the final note whispered into the night, a heavy silence fell, thick enough to choke on. But then it happened. A single clap shattered the stillness, followed by a ripple of applause that echoed down the alley. Was this man just a lonely musician with an extraordinary gift, or something more? The tension hung in the air, blurring the line between reality and illusion. Then, just as abruptly, the piano fell silent. The musician stood, eyes blazing with fervor. He took a step back, and just like that, he vanished into the shadows, leaving behind nothing but a sense of dread and unresolved wonder. What secrets did he take with him, and would he ever return? The crowd lingered, like ghosts entranced by an unseen force. Whispers filled the air, each murmur attempting to unravel the mystery of the vanishing man. Some spoke of the magic that seemed to hang in the air, while others felt an unsettling chill creeping down their spines as they recalled the intensity of his performance. What just happened? Someone blurted out, breaking the spell. The collective confusion set in, faces morphing from awe to disbelief. A man in a leather jacket scoffed, "Just a trick. You know how these guys are playing for coins, trying to scam us." Yet the others couldn't shake the visceral imprint left by the music. It echoed like a siren's call, or perhaps a warning as the crowd began to disperse. Tom, a weary office worker who had watched from the back, found himself unable to move. Memories of his struggles, financial stress, and a family he hadn't seen in far too long twisted inside him like a knife. Was this man part of a grander scheme, a reflection of his own tortured reality? Tom turned toward the alley, heart pounding. Where did he go? He muttered, as if the street itself might reveal its secrets. Just then, a soft melody floated around the corner, beckoning him deeper into the unknown. Intrigued, he followed the sound, each note nudging him forward as if orchestrated by fate. The alley opened up, far wider than he imagined, dimly lit by a solitary street lamp. The piano sat there again, waiting, but this time it was entirely different. And standing over it was not the same man, but another figure cloaked in a dark coat, shadows swallowing part of their form. Looking for answers? The stranger asked, voice silky yet commanding. Tom flinched, feeling the weight of the question pressing down on him. He nodded instinctively. Was he really looking for answers, or was he merely drawn in by the lure of the supernatural? Music speaks truths we hide from ourselves, the figure continued. What if I told you that he will return? And that his return is tied to your fate? Fear and curiosity clashed within Tom. What do you mean? But the stranger only smiled. It was a grin that offered no comfort or explanation. He will come back when the time is right. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the alleyway, sending shivers coursing down Tom's back. The notes from the piano reverberated against the walls, creating a dissonance that felt alive, electric like a warning. Something dark lurked beneath the surface, something connected to that mysterious man who had vanished. Who are you? Tom demanded, his heart racing. Before the stranger could respond, the dim light flickered wildly, and in that moment, Tom felt a jolt of realization. The music wasn't just a haunting serenade, it was a call to face his inner turmoil, a reflection of everything he tried to escape. Are you the reason he plays? Is this a curse? But just as those words left his lips, darkness enveloped the alley, swallowing sound and light. Tom stumbled backward, confusion flooding his mind, and then it was quiet again. Silence settled back over the empty street. But a lingering question gnawed at him: was he meant to abandon his demons, or was he destined to confront them through that haunting melody? As he turned to leave, an uneasy shudder ran through him. Little did he know, the echoes of the piano would lead him back to the shadows, and the truth he sought was waiting just ahead. Tom blinked, his heart still racing from the sudden darkness. The alley felt familiar yet foreign, like an unseen barrier separated him from the world he knew. A part of him urged him to flee, to run back to the crowd and forget this haunting moment. But another part, stronger and more insistent, urged him forward. He took a step deeper into the alley, the flickering street lamp casting eerie shadows across the cracked pavement. The soft, ghostly notes began to seep back into the air, wrapping around him like a frigid mist, pulling him further in. His instincts screamed at him to leave, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something awaited him, something mysterious and undeniably crucial. Face your fears, the stranger's words echoed in his mind, heavy and palpable. Those words had a strange gravity. What if he didn't just confront his demons? What if this music held the key to understanding them? Just then, the dark figure returned, more substantial now, emerging from the shadows like a whisper made flesh. You feel it, don't you? They asked, voice low and smooth. The pull of the music, the gravity of what has been left unsaid? Tom's breath hitched. I don't know what I feel, he stammered, panic flashing in his chest. The notion of discovering truths he had buried was overwhelming. All I know is I'm lost. I want to find my way back. The figure tilted their head, observing him closely. The path you seek won't reveal itself like the others have. This one is intricate. It's filled with pain, but also with potential. What do you mean? Tom's voice crackled, betraying his desperation. The figure gestured to the piano behind them. It seemed to pulse with energy, its keys shimmering in the dim light. The man you witnessed, his disappearance was not a mere trick. He transcended the ordinary by tapping into something powerful. Music can heal or destroy. You must decide what it will do for you. Tom stepped forward, drawn in by the allure of the instrument. It seemed to breathe with each note, inviting him to explore its depths. But I can't play, he admitted, shame coloring his words. I don't know. How does that matter? Can't you feel it calling you? The figure pressed. This isn't just about performance. It's about connection. Listen. He closed his eyes, allowing the notes to surround him. Would he dare to move closer? To touch those keys, to unleash what had been stuck inside him for too long? The thought sent a tremor of fear coursing through him. Yet something deeper urged him on, a long-buried desire to confront the chaos that had become his life. Tom opened his eyes and took a step to the piano. Would he find liberating expression or shattering truth within its depth? Remember, the stranger whispered, you are not alone. Your journey intertwines with his, and when he returns, you must be ready. And just like that, a piercing whistle echoed through the alley. Tom froze, confusion swirling. Out of the dark, a familiar silhouette slipped into view, the vanished man, stepping back into reality, clutching his guitar. But this time, something shimmered in the air above him, a tempest of emotion ready to burst. The crowd, pulled like moths to a flame, fueled the energy of the moment, igniting the very air with anticipatory dread. Are you ready? The cloaked figure murmured, their gaze set upon Tom, weighing the meaning behind his decision. For the first time in years, he could taste possibility dancing on the wind. But did he have what it took to embrace it? As the vanished man lifted his guitar, Tom's heart pounded louder, fear and curiosity dancing dangerously close together. Was he ready to face the darkness, the music, and his own demons? The dim light around him flickered ominously, and the alley felt charged with energy. What had he truly stepped into? The first strum rang out, and with it, a question lingered: would he find freedom in the melody or fall prey to its eerie grip? The moment the guitar string vibrated into the night, an electric tension coiled the air. Each note rang out, a beacon calling to Tom, as the veil between them thinned. The crowd around him quieted, their breaths held, eyes widening like saucers as the man conjured melodies that dripped with fervor and despair. Tom felt the thrum of the rhythm pulse through him, racing along his veins like a shared heartbeat. As the guitar sang, so did the memories long hidden begin to stir within him: the laughter of a long-lost friend, an unresolved argument with his father, the feeling of leaving it all behind. Each chord, a flicker of the past ignited anew. Let it in, the figure urged softly, almost protectively. This is part of your path. Would he go further, or shove it all away again? With every flick of the guitar pick, the crowd moved closer, their excitement palpable, drowning out reason. They leaned in, entranced, as if the music could weave their fragmented lives back together. Tom's heart pounded, thumping under the weight of his own uncertainty. He glanced at the shadowy figure beside him, their eyes sharp and piercing. What if I can't bear it? He whispered, the truth clinging tightly to his throat. You're stronger than you think, was the calm reply. And what if the freedom you seek is found on the other side of your fear? That statement drummed into him, louder than the strum of the guitar. Tom felt drawn to the piano again, the instrument thrumming beneath his fingertips from afar. A siren call, wrapping around him like a lover's embrace. He stepped forward, each hesitating step filled with a taut energy. The moment he reached out, the connection ignited something within him. The piano felt alive, and he could almost hear his heartbeat synchronize with its pulse, but then a flash of panic surged through him. The last time he tried to express himself in song, all he felt was stifled. Could he even dare to feel that pain again, risk it all for potential beauty? Suddenly, the man with the guitar lifted his gaze, eyes locking onto Tom with an intensity that silenced all doubts. Join me, he beckoned, his voice a blend of passion and desperation. Let us tell the world our story. The crowd swayed, then erupted into encouraging murmurs. Someone shouted, do it. Play. In that moment, a tear slipped down Tom's cheek. He thought about everything he had lost, the music in his life overshadowed by the cacophony of regrets. Could that all change here, now? Taking a deep breath, Tom's hand hovered over the keys, the cool ivory beckoning. He could almost hear a whisper, not just from the instrument but from the very air itself. Let yourself be heard. His fingers pressed down, and a simple note rang out. It was shaky at first, a timid echo. But it filled the alley, weaving itself into the rhythm of the guitar. The music was clumsy but beautiful, raw and unfiltered. It took hold of him, igniting every repressed ache he had buried under the surface. The figure beside him smiled, an acknowledgement of the leap he'd taken. The crowd erupted into cheers, but all Tom could hear was the music, the relentless, unyielding magic. As he played, memories flooded back, both painful and sweet, each note carving a piece of himself into the melody, but just as the energy peaked, crackling with intensity, the ground beneath them trembled. Confusion swept through the crowd. Was it the earth shifting, a warning, or something else entirely? Stay focused. The figure urged, voice slicing through the revelation, fingers pressing faster. Tom felt his connection to the music deepen. The guitar and piano melded together, creating a sound like never before. But danger lurked just beyond the edge of brilliance. What would happen when the last note faded? As the final strum reverberated, a shadow loomed in the alley. Something darker blinked into presence at the edge of the light. Tom's pulse quickened. Was he ready to confront whatever this was? Or would this moment of clarity unravel into chaos? The crowd fell silent as the shadow shifted, revealing an unmistakable figure, eyes glinting with a strange, menacing joy. "Ah, the music brings us together again," it whispered, voice slick with malice. "But are you truly ready for what comes next?" And with that, the nightmare had only just begun. A chill swept through the crowd. Tom's heart raced, pounding against his ribcage like a frantic bird. He blinked, trying to shake the feeling of dread creeping over him. The shadow's laughter echoed against the brick walls, a cruel sound that sent ripples through the audience, each person shrinking back slightly as if instinctively recognizing the darkness that had intruded upon their moment of joy. "What do you want?" Tom managed to ask, forcing the words out though they tangled in his throat. The figure stepped into the dim light, revealing a disheveled man, eyes wild with chaotic energy, dressed in tattered clothes that seemed to soak up the very shadows around him. "Want?" The man tilted his head, clearly amused. "Oh, I want what all artists desire, my dear boy, to make some noise. To shatter the silence." He gestured grandly, hands waving through the air as if invoking some unseen force. Tom felt an unsettling wave wash over him. Part of him wanted to run, yet another part, a stubborn flicker, felt compelled to stand his ground. He could almost hear the echoes of his abandoned dreams whispering at him, urging him to fight. The guitarist lowered his instrument, gazing at the disturbing figure with narrowed eyes. "This is a sacred space for creativity, not a stage for your chaotic games." His voice held a weight that demanded respect, but the intruder merely laughed, a sound that scraped against the edges of reason. "Sacred? You think music is sacred? It's raw, it's visceral. It's the pulse of life, and you, my dear maestro, are ignoring the darkness that feeds it." He turned to Tom, eyes shimmering with an almost manic glee. "You, my friend, are teetering on the edge. Do you dare embrace the chaos?" The ground trembled again, a reminder of the intensity binding them all. Tom could feel the weight of the moment intensifying, spotlighting the fear that churned in his stomach. The music had given him a taste of freedom, yet here was a creature determined to pull him back into despair. "Tom!" The figure beside him growled, breaking the tension. "Don't let him distract you. Keep playing." For a heartbeat, Tom hesitated, but as the crowd's worried whispers reached his ears, urging him on, he felt the desire to create flood back in. He glanced at the shadowy man, defiance carving lines on his face. "You don't know me." "Ah," the intruder cooed. "But I do. I know the fear that gnaws at you, the memories that haunt you, the melodies you've haphazardly left behind." Every word was like a punch to the gut. Tom gritted his teeth, but he understood the truth behind that sinister smile. The chaos resonated with his internal struggles. But instead of succumbing, he channeled that pain. With newfound conviction, he hammered down on the keys, unleashing a frantic melody that encapsulated his fear, frustration, and determination. The piano roared to life, wild and free, blending seamlessly with the guitar's anguished cries. The crowd gasped, momentum building as if the music itself repelled the darkness before them. The shadowy man twisted in place, an expression of fury flickering across his features. "You think you can drown me out with your tunes? I thrive in shadows. This note is just an echo." Tom's fingers danced wildly, unleashing a cacophony, the sound piercing through the heavy air, pulling at cosmic strings. He could feel the energy rising, but with it came a sense of impending danger. "Don't stop. Don't let him sway you," urged the guitarist, urgency tightening around them like a knot, but as they played on, an ominous darkness coiled tighter around the alley. The figure stepped closer, eyes glinting with menace. "You can't fight shadows with songs. Soon you'll understand the cost of this little performance." Just then, the sky outside the alley darkened, the atmosphere thickening around them like a smothering blanket. A sense of foreboding surged, raising the hairs on the back of Tom's neck. What would happen when the last note rang out? Would the music save him or seal his fate? As he lost himself in the wild rhythm, a sense of unease slithered through him. But the haunting spectre would not rest easy, and neither would he. The noise of the crowd became distant, and all that mattered was the next note, the next heartbeat, the next moment what awaited them in the enveloping darkness. The piano thundered, its notes crashing like waves against the shore. Each strike resonated in the gut of every listener, creating an unbreakable connection between Tom and the crowd. They were sliding down a wild river together, each of them caught in the current of emotion and sound. The guitarist echoed him, pouring his soul into each strum, fighting against the dark presence that loomed closer. The shadowy figure laughed again, a sound that twisted like a knife in the air. "Keep playing, dear boy. Let us see how long you can hold on to that precious hope." He stepped forward, his form merging into the darkness, until he was nothing but a silhouette against the flickering light. "Did you think your melody could break me? You're just a child in a playground." Tom felt his resolve waver. The words stung like ice. He could see the fear in the eyes of the crowd, people clutching each other, whispering, wondering. The chill in the air thickened, wrapping around Tom like a suffocating shroud. Still, he pressed on, the music racing faster, pounding out a rhythm that was both a plea and a battle cry. "Faster!" came the voice of the guitarist, driving him on. "Don't give in to him." With each chord, Tom's fingers burned and a deep ache formed in his chest, but it felt good. It anchored him, grounding him in the now, shielding him from the creeping dread. "You think you know me?" Tom shouted, surprising himself with the fierceness in his tone. "You don't know what I'm capable of. You're just scratching the surface," the shadow snarled, darkness curling around him like smoke. "The pain, the anger, it's all still there, buried deep inside. I'm here to set you free, to show you what true madness looks like." Tom could feel threads of terror weaving through him. But it was nothing compared to the exhilarating rush of creation. He entered a trance-like state, pouring everything he had into the music, the joy, the sorrow, the memories he had hidden away for so long. The piano became an extension of his heart, each note a confession of his spirit, but with each powerful chord, the shadow responded, its laughter growing fainter yet more menacing, as if it were threatening to burst forth from the walls themselves. "You think this is creation? This is destruction in disguise. Every note adds to your demise." Suddenly, the ground shook violently, throwing Tom off balance. The cacophony of music halted, fear slicing through the audience like shards of glass. He stumbled back, the haunting gaze of the figure piercing into him like a dagger. A horrifying realization dawned upon him. The music wasn't just a shield, it was a beacon to something darker. Something that thrived off desperation and buried truths. The shadow figure swept closer, swirling in the dim light. "Will you join me? Embrace the chaos that is you? Or will you let this fragile performance unravel, taking all with it?" The crowd held its breath. In their faces, he read the question echoing through the alley, the same one raging inside him. Could he face the chaos and let it guide him? Or would he risk everything to keep playing, to keep fighting? The darkness pressed tighter, almost suffocating. Tom brought his hands back to the keys, heart pounding, the weight of the moment heavy like a stone. He had a choice. He could surrender, or he could try to bring the music alive again. But could he resist the shadows long enough to find the truth hidden within them? With his heart in his throat, he began to play again, each note trembling with fear and newfound courage. The darkness around him seethed, and just as he lost himself in the sound, a flicker of light danced at the edge of his vision, an entity emerging from behind the shadows, drawing breath in the cold night air. What was this new presence, and what role would it play in the battle for his soul? The moment Tom's fingers brushed the keys, the flicker of light grew, shimmering like a soft glow awakening from the depths of night. The crowd leaned into it, feelings of dread replaced momentarily by hope. A figure emerged, ethereal and radiant, contrasting sharply against the encroaching darkness. Tom played onwards, the melody now taking on new shapes, filled with urgency and rebellion. The shadow paused, its laughter morphing into a low growl, already sensing the shift. The air vibrated with a tension as heavy as silence before a storm. What was this presence? Who dared approach the battlefield of his very soul? "Let me guide you," the figure beckoned, voice soothing and powerful. "You possess a fire burning within, a light that's been snuffed out for far too long. Don't let him win." Tom felt an electric thrill dance through him. He knew this spirit, familiar yet distant, like a forgotten whisper of a lullaby sung long ago. With a shaky breath, he glanced up, meeting the figure's gaze. It was someone strikingly similar to him, yet liberated from the grips of fear, the ideal version of himself. Just as he closed his eyes and let the music flourish, feeding off this renewed energy, the shadow interrupted. "Enough playing games, little boy. You think the light can protect you? It only highlights your flaws." There was an edge to the darkness, an intensity growing in its form, slithering closer, eager to snuff out the radiance trying to bloom. The chords pulsed louder, striking a defiant rhythm against the dark figure's taunts. This was the moment for rebellion. Tom's fingers moved with a frenzied grace, pouring out the anguish of every painful memory, the lost dreams, the past failures, the weight of expectations. The crescendo built, and he could feel the crowd pushing closer, desperate to pull him back from the brink. "Let it all out," the luminous figure urged him. "Embrace the chaos within, don't hide from the pain. Trust in your voice." Tom tried to draw strength from the light, but the shadow wasn't done yet. "You think you can unleash that darkness and not be consumed? You're a fool. Your spirit is as fragile as glass, one wrong note, and it shatters." With every ounce of courage he had, Tom pressed harder. The music transformed into a maelstrom of sound, mixing heartbreak with longing, triumph tinged with despair. And then it happened. The ground beneath him trembled again, but this time it felt different, like a pulse responding to his melody. Suddenly, the shadow lunged, its hands reaching for him, grasping, taunting. "Join me. You cannot fight what you are. It's in your blood, you are born from chaos." Tom's heart raced as the room spun with the force of the struggle, the brightness of the spirit flickering alongside the shadow's primal darkness. The shadows seemed to rise, thickening, encompassing the crowd. Gasps echoed, fear enveloping the audience like a midnight fog. "Bring it on!" Tom screamed, summoning every bit of his being, every note screaming for life, to fight back. In that moment, something inside him cracked open, flooding the air with raw energy. The music surged, echoing with the force of a storm determined to break, and then, just as everything reached its peak, Tom saw the brightest flash, blindingly intense. It felt like electricity rushing through him, sparking memories both sweet and painful, as if the truth of his existence was finally rising to the surface. But what was that flicker of darkness retreating, twisting away? Was the shadow finally weakening? Or was it merely gathering strength for a more significant attack? The air crackled with frantic tension. He was almost there, almost free. Yet deep down, a chilling whisper crawled in. What awaited him on the other side of this battle? Would he break free, or would the shadows consume him whole? The crowd held its breath, knives of silence piercing the atmosphere. Tom pressed on, heart racing, not yet knowing the answer but daring to hope for salvation. A shocking roar erupted from the darkness, snapping Tom back into the immediate chaos. The shadow lunged forward, its form a swirling mass of rage and despair. "You think this is your moment?" It spat, voice slashing through the melody like a dagger. It will always be my moment. The ground shook beneath Tom's feet as he struggled to maintain his grip on the keys. He could feel the darkness wrapping around him, squeezing tight, sending shivers of icy horror through his bones. Desperation surged, igniting every part of him. If he faltered now, the light would be snuffed out forever. "Fight back, Tom!" the radiant figure cried, its voice imbued with urgency and resolve. "Only you can define what is real. Don't let the fear drown you." Taking a deep breath, Tom leaned into the furious crescendo, pouring out his pain even more intensely. Each note was a blow against the darkness, each chord a silent scream of defiance. The music flowed like a lifeline, pulling him closer to the light, the space where hope and determination clashed. The shadow seemed to pulse with each sound, the colors around it shifting and warping, claws extending like talons, desperate to reclaim the light. "Look around you," it thundered, voice echoing through the venue, causing the audience to recoil. "This is your reality. Your struggles do not disappear, they only grow. You are trapped." Refusing to be overwhelmed, Tom's eyes caught the gaze of the figure. It glowed with an intensity that reminded him of every victory, from writing his first song to performing for a crowd that believed in him. Those memories surged back, igniting the fire within. "No. You're wrong," he shouted, each word pouring forth with newfound strength. The energy in the room shifted violently. The flames of the melody leapt to life, dancing like an inferno around him, battling against the icy darkness. Shockwaves rippled through the audience as they stood transfixed. Gasps of wonder and terror mingled in the air, hanging thick like smoke. "Tom!" someone yelled from the back, a voice breaking through the tension. "This is your moment. Own it." A spark ignited within him, solidifying his resolve. He felt ground beneath his fingers, not just wood, but an extension of his spirit. It anchored him. The vibrations filled him, echoing his heartbeat, driving him to unleash the chorus he never knew he had stored deep inside. The music swelled, moving in waves that threatened to drown the shadow. Each surge pierced the darkness, illuminating the crowd's expressions, curious and terrified yet tethered by the magic filling the air. With a fierce determination, Tom launched into a final, explosive crescendo. Then it happened. A fracture ran through the shadow, like a crack in ice. Light burst forth in every direction, flooding the venue with brilliance, turning fear into awe. The shadow shrieked in horror, caught off guard by the light and strength Tom wielded. But just as victory felt almost tangible, a tendril of darkness shot forward, wrapping tightly around Tom's wrist, sharp, cold, and relentless. It pulled, yanking him back, threatening to drag him into an abyss of despair. He gasped, the final note teetering on the edge, wavering between triumph and catastrophe. Would he escape the grip of the darkness threatening to pull him under? Or would he surrender, allowing his light to be extinguished for good? As the audience remained eerily silent, the pressure on Tom's wrist tightened, and shadows swirled, hiding, lurking, waiting for one last chance. What would happen next? Could Tom break free, or would he be lost to the darkness forever? The tendril's grip wrapped around Tom's wrist like ice, a bitter reminder of the despair he fought so hard to escape. His heart raced, the rhythm of the music faltering, each note slipping into silence. The audience held its breath, faces twisted in shock. A flicker of panic coursed through him, as if the light he had summoned was now a distant star. "Fight it, Tom," the radiant figure cried again. Its eyes shimmered with hope, but the shadow's grip had become a vice. Tom could feel the darkness pulling at his very essence, dragging him toward an abyss where no melody lingered. With a surge of defiance, he gripped the piano tighter, fingers trembling over the keys. The memories rushed back, days spent playing under streetlights, the smiles of strangers, the warmth of applause. It was time to channel that strength. This was no ordinary performance, it was a battle for his soul. "Remember who you are." The voice echoed, a beacon piercing the dark. And just like that, a melody began to bloom inside him. The shadows closed in, but each note that sprang from his fingers cut through the inky darkness like a blade. Drowning out the silence, Tom unleashed a cascade of sound, flooding the venue. The music soared, wild and untamed, bursting forth in defiance of the shadow's grasp. It wrapped around the darkness, drowning it in light. The tendril wavered, loosening its hold. Was this the moment the tide turned? Yes. Tom shouted, pouring every ounce of his spirit into the keys, the crescendo climbing higher. The shadow recoiled, snarling, yet each note from the piano danced through the air like pure magic, igniting the audience. Gasps turned to cheers, feet began to stomp, and hands clapped to the growing rhythm. The energy in the room crackled. People were standing, hands raised, caught in the spell of the sound, but the shadow was relentless. It writhed and pulsed, a dark storm in the midst of his triumph, snapping and clawing as if it would tear him apart. You think you can free yourself? You're just a whisper, a memory, it howled, its voice reverberating through the hall, striking fear into the hearts of those who dared to stand against it. Tom's fingers flew faster, pressing every key, creating harmonies that intertwined and intertwined like vines of light. The sound filled the space around them, wrapping every soul present in a cocoon of hope and rebellion. He couldn't lose now, not after everything he fought for, but suddenly, just as the light felt ready to overtake the darkness, a snap of the tendril flared painfully tight. Tom cried out, struggling against the cold grip, his heart wavering. The shadow wasn't finished yet. It was frantic, desperate, and clawing for its chance at victory. He locked eyes with the radiant figure once more. There was trust there. He took a breath, feeling the weight of the audience, their hopes resting on him alone. Memories, love, pain, and grief melded into the music. He closed his eyes, letting his instincts take over, drawing from the deepest well of his heart. In a final, fearless act, Tom played a note so pure, so beautiful that it sliced through the darkness with a razor's edge. The room exploded with light, not just from him, but from everyone who believed. It rippled outward, engulfing the shadow in brilliance. But would the light be enough? As the last echoes of his note hung in the air, a sinister laugh emanated from the shadows. You think you can extinguish me that easily? I am everywhere. The laughter sent chills down his spine. Time slowed, the air thickened, and then what more did the darkness conceal? Was this truly the climax, or merely a prelude to something darker looming just outside the light? The echoes of Tom's final note vibrated through the alley, reverberating deep into the hearts of the crowd. They stood frozen, wide-eyed as a tangible sense of hope washed over them, mingling with the remnants of fear that still clung to the air. But as the last notes settled, the sinister laughter of the shadowy figure curled wickedly through the night, a reminder of the battle that still raged. You will never vanquish the shadows, it hissed, a spiraling voice dripping with disdain. They linger within you, waiting for the moment of weakness. Tom's heart raced. For each mention of despair, a flicker of doubt seeped in, threatening to douse the flame of hope he had ignited. The radiant figure beside him shone brighter, illuminating the doubts that clouded Tom's mind. You can't let them win. It urged, voice filled with fierce determination. Your music isn't just sound, it's a weapon. With clenched fists, Tom gripped the piano keys once more. He drew from the depths of his sorrow and transformed it into strength. Not today. He shouted defiantly, and with that, he struck the keys with renewed vigor. This time, the melody surged forward, sweeping through the alley like a tidal wave, washing over everyone present, burying their fears beneath layers of sound. The shadow recoiled, its form shivering like smoke caught in a gust of wind. Each note blazed against the darkness, burning away its haunting whispers. The crowd responded, their cheers intensifying, a chorus of souls rallying around him, merging their collective hope into an unstoppable force. Look! The radiant figure exclaimed, pointing to the retreating shadow. It's weakening. Tom's fingers raced across the keys, igniting the fire inside him. Feel this! He cried, pouring every ounce of emotion into the music. Chords crashed like waves, twirling through the air, bright bursts of sound exploding against the dark. The audience swayed and sang along to the uplifting rhythm, a tidal force of light spilling forth. The shadow wavered, its edges fading like ink under water. This isn't the end. You are merely pushing me back. It screeched, panicking as the light encroached. Tom met the shadow's gaze, fear fading into fierce resolve. You'll always be part of me, but you won't control me. A final surge of courage coursed through him, and he struck a powerful chord, a sound so full and bright that it resonated far beyond the darkened alley, reverberating against the very walls of despair. A wave of light burst forth, cascading through the air like early morning sunshine breaking through fog, penetrating every nook and cranny where darkness had clung. With one last assault of sound, Tom watched as the shadow writhed, unable to cope with the brilliance surrounding him. It began to fracture, swirling apart like smoke dispersing into the dawn. Slowly, painfully, it dissolved, the laughter turning into howls of defeat, echoing until it was nothing but whispers in the wind. Silence fell, slowly engulfing the alley as the last remnants of shadow faded away. The crowd stood still, faces bright with disbelief slowly morphing into astonished joy. Victory surged through the air, palpable and electric. Tom stared at the piano, then shifted to meet the radiant figure. "Is it over?" he breathed, fear turning into hope. "Yes," the figure replied softly, yet the warmth in their voice was undeniable. "For now. Remember, shadows may linger, but they only define your strength if you let them." Relief washed over him as he felt the weight lifting. He was finally free to embrace the light within himself. The crowd erupted in cheers, voices lifting into the air, merging with the last remnants of the melody still swirling in the warm night. Tom beamed, letting the collective joy fill him up, holding each moment close to his heart. "Thank you," he whispered, gazing at the radiant figure, then back to the crowd. "For believing." With heartfelt smiles, they parted, one by one offering gestures of gratitude, their eyes sparkling with inspiration. The night felt alive, echoing with the stories now woven between them. Binding him to the memories of every lost note he had reclaimed. As the streetlights flickered back to life, Tom knew he would continue playing, not just for himself but for those who needed to hear their own stories echoed through the music. It was a promise, a vow to embrace the light, the chaos, and the shadows alike, allowing each moment to shape his journey forward. He turned to stride deeper into the heart of the city that had once forgotten him, and as he walked, the first rays of dawn began to light the horizon, illuminating the path ahead, and just like that, with heavy yet hopeful hearts, they all stepped forward together into a new beginning. Don't even think twice about it. If you loved the conclusion of this story, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories we have in store for you. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and tell it you want more incredible tales. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic ending. What are your thoughts? Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything as we keep bringing you stories that connect our lives in unforgettable ways.